Here we are with another cooler test. This one is with the Ozark Trail. 52 quart on the left, Ozark Trail 73 next to it on the right. The beige one is a Cabela's Polar Cap 60 quart, and on the right a Coleman Xtreme, advertises 5-day ice retention. That one's a 70 quart. So if you look at my other videos, I have a previous cooler test with the Cabela's, the white Coleman, a Yeti 75, and another old Coleman, and the Cabela's mopped it up. Cabela's won by over 2 days, holding it for 7 days versus all the others held it for 5. Anyway, I tried to get the Ozark Trail ones in time for that test. I couldn't get it. Now I got it, so let's do it again. I don't have the Yeti for this test, but we'll get started. So on the left, again, is the Ozark Trail, which is the Walmart house brand. Again, if you check my other videos, I kind of have a review or walkthrough of those two coolers. That one sells for about $147. The bigger one, the 73 quart, sells for $194, I believe, $195, something like that. Cabela sells for $300, 60 quart, and the Coleman Marine is about 50 bucks. So, and also if you want to look at reviews of the Coleman Marine or the Cabela's, I have those videos out there as well. So is what we're going to do, we're going to load them up with 40 pounds of ice, all of them, 3 Cokes in each one. I'm going to leave them out in the direct sun as much as I can. Weather this week, not as hot as the last test I did. Highs are looking to be mid to upper 70s. That's what I got to work with. I wish it was a little hotter anyway. I'll open the coolers 3 times a day to kind of simulate real world usage. And we'll just go till the last one melts all the way to water. So let's get started. So the ice is all loaded up. We'll take a look in each one just to get an idea of the ice at the beginning. Again, I bought the ice all at the same place, so it all should be pretty similar. Cabela's and the white Coleman. All right, I'll check in once a day and we'll see who wins. Here we are checking in at 24 hours. Checking with the Ozark Trail 52 quart. Looks about like it did when it filled. A little bit more ice melt in the Ozark Trail 73, but that's expected. More air to cool. Cabela's, hardly any water at the bottom. And the Coleman Marine. There's some ice melting again, but it's kind of expected, so check in tomorrow. It's time for the 48-hour check-in. I'll check on the Ozark Trail 52. Starting to see a little bit of water showing up. The Ozark Trail 73 quart. Starting to see some noticeable water. Cabela's. Got to dig down deep, but there's some water. But Cabela's is clearly leading the pack. And lastly, the Coleman. Looks like neck and neck with the Ozark Trail 73, but if I had to give it, I'd say the Coleman's even beating it. So we'll check in again tomorrow. Here we are, hour 72. We've got a little bit of rain, so it's kind of cooled off a bit, but we're starting to see some separation in the coolers. The Ozark Trail 52 quart. Still plenty of ice left. The 73 quart starting to lag. Starting to see a lot of that ice melt into water. That's kind of expected. A lot more airspace to cool than the 52 quart. The 60 quart Cabela's is starting to run away with it. You see still tons of ice. Water, but I mean tons and tons of ice still left. And the Coleman, 70 quart Coleman. Pretty close to the Ozark Trail 73. If I had to pick a winner, I'd probably say the Coleman's beating it right now, but it's pretty close. So anyway, check in tomorrow. 96 hours in, let's take a look. 52 quart. 52 quart Ozark Trail, 73 quart, Probably will make it another 12 hours or so. The Cabela's 60 quart. Obviously you can tell that one's in the lead. Pretty big right now. And the Coleman. Probably won't make it another day, but I'd say it's just barely beating the Ozark Trail 73 quart. So you can save a bunch of money and buy the Coleman. It's probably not quite as durable, but it holds ice just as long. Here we are checking in 120 hours or 5 days. Ozark Trail 52. Maybe another day left, maybe not quite a day. About 5 hours ago or so, so 115 hours, just short of 5 days. The 73 quart, it ran out of ice and now it's just all water. It's a Cabela 60 quart. Tons of ice left and still a lot of big chunks. I bet it still has at least 3 or 4 days left. And the Coleman Xtreme 70 quart, just a little bit of ice left. Maybe another 6 to 8 hours, I bet. I don't think it'll make tonight or make it through the night. So there you go. Very similar size, the Coleman 70 quart, Ozark Trail 73 quart, despite being a high performance. The Ozark Trail lost to the Coleman, you know, being 4 times the price. Yeah, it may be more durable, but it's also a lot heavier. And you can buy 4 Coleman coolers instead of one of those. Here we are, 144 hours in, or 6 days. And let's check Ozark Trail. Little bit of ice, maybe a day, probably not quite a day, 12 hours or so left. Cabela's 60, plenty of ice left, probably 2 days. And overnight sometime, the Coleman had tapped out, no more ice left. So previously, as you notice, there's only 3 here because the 73 quart Ozark Trail went to water at about 115 hours, and I'd say the Coleman probably made it about 130 hours, so it lasted about 15 hours longer than the other one. We'll keep checking in. Here we are checking in down to 168 hours. We're only down to 2 coolers. As expected, the 52 quart Ozark Trail petered out about 12 hours ago, so it made it about 156 hours or so. And the Cabela's is still going. Probably got about another 24 hours of ice left, I'd guess. So it's clearly the winner. I'll check in at the end once the Cabela's finally taps out, whenever that is. So here we are done with the 40-pound ice test, and the Cabela's 60 quart polar cap finally went to all water at just before 9 days. It's about 212 hours, so just a few hours short, about 4 hours short of 9 full days. So just to do a recap, the 52 quart Ozark Trail just before 7 days, the 73 quart Ozark Trail just before 5 days, the Cabela's again just before 9 days, and the white Coleman lasted almost 5.5 days. So the most comparable would be the Coleman 70 quart, the white one, and the Ozark Trail 73. And the Coleman lasted about 15 hours or so longer than the Ozark Trails. So it's only about a fourth of the price, about $50 versus $200. So you make your own decision there. If you need ice retention, the Ozark Trail one doesn't make sense. Sure, the Ozark Trail one's probably a lot more durable than the Coleman one, but it also comes with weight. It weighs about 30 pounds versus the Coleman's about 8 or so. So it carries a lot heavier. And even though the Cabela's one was bigger, so there's more airspace to cool at 60 quarts than the 52 quart Ozark Trail, it did last 2 days longer. So the Cabela's, man, if you look at my other cooler test versus the Yeti, the Cabela's beat up on the Yeti too, and that white Coleman Xtreme also beat a similar sized Yeti. So I'd say the Ozark Trail 73 would compare very similar to a Yeti, but still they both got beat by the Coleman Marine 70 quart. So there you go, make your own decisions. It's your money. Thanks for watching, and check out my other videos.